Have you ever looked at your life and quietly wondered, where did all the time go? Not in a dramatic way, not during a crisis, just in an ordinary moment, maybe while scrolling your phone, watching someone else succeed, or realizing another year has passed, and you are still waiting for your real life to begin. Here is a truth most people discover too late. Life rarely announces its passing. It does not knock on your door and say, "Use me wisely." It moves silently. One day you are full of plans, convinced you have endless tomorrows. Then suddenly, the distance between who you wanted to be and who you became feels uncomfortably large. But if you stay until the very end of this video, you will walk away with something many people spend decades chasing: clarity. The kind that wakes you up. The kind that changes how you see your time, your choices, and your future. The first invisible trap people fall into is the belief that there is always more time. The human mind is designed to protect comfort, not urgency. It whispers, "Start next week. Try next year. Wait until you feel ready." And without realizing it, you begin postponing your own life. This leads to the first lesson people learn too late. Waiting for the right time is a lifetime mistake. There is no perfect moment, no magical day when fear disappears and confidence arrives. The right time is an illusion created by hesitation. Action does not come after readiness. Readiness comes after action. Look at the people who transform their lives. They were not fearless. They've simply decided that movement was better than delay. Meanwhile, many intelligent, talented people remain stuck in the planning phase forever. Not because they lack ability, but because they worship timing more than courage. Remember this: the cost of waiting is far greater than the cost of starting imperfectly. The second lesson hides behind something that feels harmless: comfort. Comfort feels warm, predictable, safe. But what most people do not realize is that comfort is incredibly addictive. The brain quickly memorizes whatever avoids stress. It builds routines around ease. Over time, what once felt like rest becomes a cage. Growth and comfort cannot live in the same space. One always replaces the other. Years later, people often look back and realize they were not truly relaxed. They were slowly settling. Settling for routines that required no bravery. Settling for dreams that demanded no risk. Settling for a version of life that felt acceptable, but never extraordinary. And the tragedy is this: comfort never warns you that it is stealing your potential. It simply makes sure you do not notice. The third lesson is one that quietly controls countless decisions. Other people are not thinking about you nearly as much as you fear. So many dreams die in the hands of imagined judgment. People stay silent because they fear embarrassment. They play small because they fear criticism. They hide their ambition because they fear standing out. But here is what maturity eventually reveals: everyone is too busy dealing with their own insecurities to analyze yours. While you are worrying about being judged, someone else is worrying about the exact same thing. When you finally understand this, something powerful happens. You stop shrinking. You stop asking invisible permission. You stop living as a background character in your own story. Psychologically, the real enemy is rarely failure. It is discomfort. The brain treats emotional discomfort like danger, even when it is actually the doorway to growth. That is why taking a risk feels threatening, not because it will destroy you, but because it will change you. And change requires leaving behind the familiar version of yourself. The earlier you understand these truths, the faster your life begins to expand. Because the biggest regrets people carry are almost never the mistakes they made. They are the chances they never took, the words they never spoke, the paths they never explored. One day, you will either face the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. And regret is always heavier, because it comes with a question that never stops echoing. What if I had tried? So pause for a moment and ask yourself honestly, you building a life, or are you postponing one? Because the years will pass anyway. The only question is whether you will meet them with courage or with excuses. And as you will soon discover, time is only the beginning. Many of the hardest lessons in life are not about minutes or years, they are about people. Many of the hardest lessons in life are not about minutes or years, they are about people. Because no matter how strong, disciplined, or focused you become, the relationships you allow into your life will either elevate you or quietly drain the strength you worked so hard to build. Human beings are wired for connection. Thousands of years ago, belonging meant survival. Being accepted by the tribe kept you safe. Being rejected meant danger. Even today, your brain carries that ancient programming. It pushes you to seek approval, to avoid conflict, and to hold on to people, sometimes long after it becomes clear they were never meant to walk your entire journey with you. This is why one of the most freeing lessons people learn too late is this: not everyone is meant to understand you. Some people will only support the version of you that feels familiar to them. The moment you grow, change direction, or raise your standards, their comfort gets disturbed. Suddenly, the same ambition that should be admired becomes too much. The same boundaries that protect your peace become selfish. But growth was never meant to be convenient for everyone around you. Trying to be understood by those committed to misunderstanding you is one of the fastest ways to lose yourself. Peace begins when you stop explaining your vision to people who were never given the capacity to see it. Another painful truth follows closely behind. Every time you say yes to something that drains you, you quietly say no to something that could transform you. Your time is limited. Your energy is precious. Yet many people hand both away too easily, attending things they do not enjoy, maintaining conversations that exhaust them, agreeing to expectations that suffocate their potential. Why? Because saying no feels uncomfortable. It risks disappointing someone. It risks being seen differently. But here is what emotionally strong people eventually understand: a respectful no is not rejection. It is self-respect. Your future is shaped less by what you tolerate and more by what you refuse to carry. Then comes a lesson that can take decades to accept. You cannot change people by loving them harder. No amount of patience can force someone to grow. No amount of sacrifice can create awareness in a person who refuses to look within. Growth is always a personal decision. Many people spend years trying to rescue others while slowly abandoning themselves. They become loyal to potential instead of reality. They hold on to who someone could be, ignoring who they consistently show themselves to be. Wisdom begins the moment you believe patterns more than promises. And sometimes, the people who walk away, or those you finally gather the courage to release, are not losses at all. They are space makers. They clear the emotional noise so the right connections can find you. Because the truth is, loneliness does not come from being alone. Loneliness comes from being surrounded by people who do not truly see you, hear you, or value the depth of who you are. There is a powerful shift that happens in adulthood. You stop chasing every invitation. You stop forcing every connection. You stop shrinking your truth just to maintain temporary harmony. Instead, you begin choosing alignment over approval. Maturity quietly arrives when you no longer beg for a seat at tables where your presence is merely tolerated. You build your own table, and the people meant for your life recognize it without persuasion. Never forget this. The quality of your life will often mirror the quality of the people closest to you. Protect your circle, because your environment is stronger than your willpower. Yet, after understanding others, a deeper realization waits, one that many avoid for far too long. The most important relationship you will ever experience is the one you have with yourself. Because you can distance yourself from draining people. You can outgrow limiting environments. But wherever you go, one person follows you every single day: your own mind. And what happens there determines everything. Because long before life becomes a battle with the world, it becomes a quiet battle within. A place where dreams either gain strength or slowly disappear under the weight of doubt. Most people think their greatest enemy is outside. Difficult circumstances, unfair opportunities, lack of support. But one of the most shocking lessons people learn too late is that the strongest force holding them back was never external. It was the voice that said, "Stay where it's safe." Every time you ignore your intuition, every time you postpone a dream, every time you choose comfort over growth, you experience something dangerous: self-betrayal. Self-betrayal rarely feels dramatic. It happens in small moments. When you settle for less than you know you deserve. When you silence your opinion to keep others comfortable. When you convince yourself that someday is good enough. But each time you abandon your inner calling, your confidence weakens. Not because you failed, but because, deep down, you know you did not even try. This is why another life-changing truth emerges: discipline matters more than motivation. Motivation is emotional. It rises when you feel inspired and disappears when things become difficult. Discipline, however, is an identity. It is the decision to show up regardless of mood, weather, or fear. The people who build powerful lives are not the ones who always feel ready. They are the ones who act even when they don't. There will be mornings when your energy is low, nights when doubt grows louder, seasons when progress feels invisible. Discipline is what carries you across those invisible bridges. And here is something most people misunderstand. Confidence is not something you wait for. It is something you build. No one begins fearless. Confidence is the natural result of repeated action. Every uncomfortable step sends a message to your brain: I survived. I can do this again. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is proof that something inside you is stronger than fear. Then comes a lesson many spend years resisting. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of it. Look closely at anyone you admire. Behind their strength are chapters they rarely talk about. Rejections, missteps, attempts that did not work, moments they questioned everything. Failure is not a sign that you are off track. Often, it is evidence that you are finally moving. The brain tries to protect you from these moments. It prefers certainty, predictability, familiar patterns. But protection and growth rarely point in the same direction. If you always choose the path with the least risk, you will also choose the life with the least expansion. Another truth quietly shapes every future. Your habits are writing your destiny while you barely notice. Life is not transformed in a single dramatic moment. It is shaped in ordinary days. The decision to wake up earlier, to learn when it would be easier to scroll, to continue when quitting feels justified. Small actions look insignificant in the present, but multiplied over years, they become impossible to ignore. Success is rarely about intensity. It is about consistency. There comes a turning point in awareness, when a person realizes something uncomfortable. The pain of staying the same has begun to outweigh the pain of change. Wise people do not wait for that breaking point. They act before discomfort becomes desperation. So pause and ask yourself honestly, are your daily choices building the future you secretly hope for, or reinforcing the life you quietly fear? Because time is moving whether you evolve or not. And eventually, another realization arrives, one that changes how you see every single day you are given. Your time here is not unlimited. Your time here is not unlimited. It is easy to live as if it is. To assume there will always be another morning, another opportunity, another chance to say the words you keep postponing. But one of the deepest awakenings a person can experience is the realization that life is not just about how you spend your time. It is about how little of it you truly control. Days feel long, but years move fast. One moment you are planning your future, and the next you are wondering how you arrived at this version of your life so quickly. This is why one of the most painful lessons people learn too late is this: health is a silent form of wealth. When the body works effortlessly, it is easy to ignore, easy to trade sleep for productivity, easy to sacrifice movement for convenience, easy to believe you are somehow immune to the consequences. Many people spend the first half of their lives chasing achievement, while quietly neglecting the very vehicle that allows them to experience it. Then, somewhere along the way, priorities reverse. Energy becomes more valuable than status. Peace becomes more attractive than pressure. Your body is not just carrying you through life, it is recording every habit, every choice, every act of care or neglect. Taking care of yourself is not vanity, it is responsibility. Because the future you are working toward requires strength to enjoy it. But beyond health lies an even more profound realization, one that most people avoid thinking about until life forces them to face it. One day, this will all end, not as a threat, not as something dark, but as the single truth that gives life its urgency and its beauty. If time were endless, moments would lose their meaning. Conversations would feel replaceable. Dreams could be delayed forever. It is the limit that makes everything precious. And yet, knowing this, people still hesitate. They wait to express love, wait to pursue purpose, wait to become who they already feel called to be. Why do we delay what matters most? Often, it is because the mind plays a comforting trick. It tells you there is always more time to become that person later. But later is one of the most expensive words you will ever believe. There is a quiet tragedy in reaching the later years of life and realizing you were always preparing to live instead of actually living. Do not let hesitation become your lifelong companion. Start before you feel fully prepared. Speak while the words are still warm in your heart. Try while your spirit is still curious. Become the person you keep imagining when the world is quiet. Because here is a psychological truth few recognize early enough: regret weighs more than fear. Fear is sharp, but temporary. It appears before the leap, before the conversation, before the decision. Regret is different. It lingers. It echoes. It returns in ordinary moments to remind you of the roads you never walked. Most fears dissolve the moment you face them, but regret grows stronger with time. Life has a strange pattern. It rewards those who are brave early, and it teaches powerful lessons to those who wait. The question is not whether these lessons will come. The question is when. Imagine meeting your future self many years from now. Notice the expression on their face. Is it peaceful, fulfilled, strong? Or is there a quiet heaviness? The kind that comes from knowing there was more inside you that never reached the surface. Future is being shaped right now, in decisions that seem small and ordinary. So stop delaying your life. Release the idea that you must have everything figured out before you begin. Clarity often arrives after movement, not before it. Let go of the need for perfect conditions. The people who do extraordinary things are rarely the ones who waited for certainty. They are the ones who learned to move alongside uncertainty. And remember this: the best time to change your life was years ago. The second best time is today. Not tomorrow. Not when fear disappears. Not when confidence magically arrives. Today, with the knowledge you now carry. With the strength you may still be discovering. With the courage that grows every time you choose action over avoidance. So ask yourself one final question, and answer it with complete honesty. Will you learn these lessons now, while time is still generous? Or will you wait until life teaches them the hard way?